Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of 60 Formula. Hope you're doing well today. Today I'm going to be talking about sending my Siberian Huskies overseas, basically relocating my dogs from America to Europe, the processes that were involved and everything that we went through. Now, I did a brief video about this last month and I talked about what we went through when we tried to get the dogs on a plane with us. It failed twice and we weren't able to get the dogs to come with us, so I was forced to leave the dogs in America while me and my wife went to Sweden. This was an incredibly long journey that was incredibly costly, not only financially, but also mentally, because it just took a really long time. I didn't know how everything was gonna go, and in the end, everything turned out great. I'm here to say that the Siberian Huskies, both Gila and George, are here in Sweden. They're doing fine, they're incredibly healthy, and they're incredibly safe. But it was a doozy getting them here. I'm gonna explain everything that we went through, just in case you're thinking about maybe relocating your dogs to a different country or a different state. So first and foremost, as I said in the previous video, we tried to relocate them ourselves by putting them on the plane that me and my wife were scheduled to fly on, but they were denied both times, basically due to the size of the crate that we purchased for them to travel in. So as a last-ditch effort, me and my wife put the dogs with a dog sitter and we decided to go to Sweden ourselves without the dogs, which was a very hard decision to do. I mean, I don't want to ever leave my dogs, but we had to do it. Immediately when I got to Sweden, I contacted Starwood Pet Travel Company. This is a company that takes your dogs, helps you through the whole entire process, transports them for you straight to your door. You don't even have to go to the airport to pick up your dogs or even drop your dogs off. It's completely streamlined. But with that said, it's insanely costly. We're talking north of 10,000 American dollars, which is wild. And there were some crazy hiccups along the way where they bumped the price up, but I'm gonna get into that here in this episode and talk to you about that. So the very first thing I did when I got to Sweden is I contacted Starwood and I said, hey, I need my dogs to get on a plane as soon as possible and be shipped to Sweden. Like, get them to Sweden as soon as you can. Typically, it takes a pet travel company about a month or a month and a half to schedule everything. But luckily, Starwood was able to oblige what I wanted them to do, and they were able to get my dogs over to Sweden within 4 weeks. That seems like a long time, but for everything that you go through and everything you have to do, it was pretty good timing. And I was very happy with the speed in which they did everything. Now, when it comes to Starwood, they basically covered almost everything. They made sure we had all the documents we needed. They communicated with our veterinarians to make sure the veterinarians provided us with the documents we needed. They worked with customs. They worked with another company that you're gonna have to inevitably use when your dog gets to the new destination, because when my dogs got to Sweden, we had to use a company called Scandipet, which is a pet company that helps transport dogs and cats and things like that in Scandinavia. So you're gonna be working with multiple companies. Starwood helps you do that, and that was great. I was really happy with all of that. That was wonderful. One of the big problems that I had though, and this came about 3 weeks into booking the transportation for the dogs, was that the crates that Starwood had planned to use for the dogs were still not big enough. And this was exactly the issue that I ran into when I was trying to put them on a commercial flight. What ended up happening is, like 3 weeks, as I said, into Starwood planning this travel for the dogs, they found out that they would have to hire a carpenter to create custom dog kennels for my dogs to go into, which to me is wild, because Siberian Huskies are not huge dogs, not compared to like Dobermans or Saint Bernards or like Golden Doodles. They're kind of like a medium to medium large size dog. It was kind of a shock to me that we would have to upgrade this, and upgrading to a wooden crate that was custom made not only means that we had to pay more for the crate, but also more for the fare to get onto the plane, because the airline is charging you based on how heavy your cargo is and how big your cargo is. So this means that the bigger the box or the bigger the crate, the more you're paying. So after I'd already paid over $10,000, they wanted an additional $3,000 like $200 for the size increase of the crate. Granted, when I saw the crates, and I'm gonna show you what they look like here in the video, they were very big. They had ample space. Both of my Huskies were able to turn around, lay down, all sorts of stuff. They had water containers that could be filled from the outside. They had an extra bag of food on the top of the crate, and all of this I didn't do any of this. Starwood took care of all of this stuff. I also want to add that while Starwood was transporting the dogs, they had to get picked up from the dog sitter, which meant that they left the dog sitter and went to an overnight boarding. Then the next day they flew overseas. When they landed in Frankfurt, Germany, they had to stay the night in Germany and have a health checkup. And then the next day they flew to Stockholm, Sweden, which means that the dogs endured 3 entire days of travel. The reason I want to tell you this is because when it came to boarding the dogs, all of that, having them stop in Frankfurt, I didn't have to worry about any of that. Starwood took care of all of that. And for that, I'm incredibly thankful. I would say Starwood did an incredible job across the board, except for increasing the price nearly 3/4 of the way through the process, which, I mean, it goes without saying, it aggravated me. It made me really upset. I'd already paid almost, like, with everything, the failure of trying to get them on the commercial flight and then including the price of Starwood and everything. It was almost a $20,000 bill, which is just astronomical. It makes me sick. It makes me just go, why isn't there an easier way to get dogs overseas without paying all of your money? It's just wild. So if you're gonna do this, I really recommend you just transport your dogs once. Unless you're like Bill Gates and you're a billionaire, do not plan on going back and forth with your dogs, because I can imagine it'll be so expensive, you'll be broke in no time. But with that said, I was absolutely happy with everything else. The dogs went through customs, everything was good. I got updates constantly about how they were doing when they were being boarded, their behavior, what they were feeling like, and that was nice. At any time, I could email Starwood and say, hey, is this going okay? And they would immediately email me back and say, yeah, everything's good. We had a coordinator that I was able to call and email, and that felt good. It gave me peace of mind. Not only was I given updates, but I was also sent photographs of the dogs, which was great. It made me feel really comfortable. Of course, I was still worried about them flying by themselves, but it just made things a lot easier. Now, the difference between me trying to get the dogs on a plane with me and Starwood putting them on a plane is that Starwood was able to put them on a cargo plane, which is a plane that's meant for just cargo. There are no people on the plane, which I hear is a much safer option. So when they flew overseas, they did not fly with people who were like traveling. They just went on a plane that was specifically meant for cargo. Now, you cannot put your dog on a cargo plane if you don't have a license. And that's why most people use pet transportation companies, because they have that license to put your dog on a cargo plane, which, as I said before, many people say is a much safer option because there's not tons of suitcases down there, people's bags. It's all meant for cargo, and everything is strapped down, everything is air conditioned, and the pilots know that there's animals and pets in the cargo holds. So it's a really safe option. So besides the increase in the price, which I thought was wild, it was a positive experience. So I do recommend Starwood. If you're gonna use Starwood, be sure you know the size of your dogs, let them know what you intend to do, all of that before you decide to pay, because they may increase the price, and that is a complete possibility. With all that said, Britney Spears and Gila arrived here safe. They came straight to my front door by Scandipet, which is the Scandinavian pet transportation company. They were in a van. You can see it right here. They did have a few little wounds here and there, like they got hurt during the travel, but mostly that was because of their own doing. Dogs like to nose on things when they're stressed and when they want to like leave a crate. So both Britney Spears and Gila had little marks on their nose from pushing their nose against the wood, and those things will have to heal, but they're going to be okay. It's not something that's a serious problem. I do plan on taking them to the vet just to make sure everything is okay. But besides those little things, they were completely fine. Their behavior was normal. They were very happy when they arrived in Sweden. Now, currently, what we're doing is we're acclimating them to the country. A lot of people are saying, you know, how is it going? What's happening? Well, it's a very slow process. With dogs, it's super, super slow. You have to introduce dogs to things very slowly. A lot of people don't have the patience for that, and that's why dog training fails a lot. So what we're doing is we're taking our time. We've been here 2 weeks with the dogs, and we're still very slowly introducing them to the house, introducing them to people that we know here, introducing them to the outside area. It's not something we want to just give them free rein of right away, and that's really important because easing dogs into situations and circumstances is something that everyone should practice, especially if you have a puppy or a smaller or younger dog. So we're doing that same sort of thing and offering that same courtesy to Britney Spears and Gila, and eventually they'll be running free and doing everything they normally did when we lived in Florida. But for now, it's a slow introduction. A lot of people have seen shorts where both the dogs are behind like a baby gate, and they're like, why are they behind a baby gate? My answer is, well, because we're not letting them roam free right away, even though they are adult Huskies. Now, when you're transporting your dogs overseas or to another place, most likely you're gonna have to have rabies certificates, health certificates, and these certificates need to be signed in ink and mailed to you in most cases, because a lot of countries don't accept digital autographs or digital signatures. There's an extra cost there you have to keep in mind. Whenever the vet wants to send you something, you're gonna have to pay for the shipping label to have those ink signed documents sent to your house. And Starwood helped us through that and really set everything up for us for that, but you're still gonna have to pay for that yourself. So there are extra costs that you will incur besides the payment to the pet transportation company when you are moving your dogs, and you should keep that in mind. Now, as you know, we are integrating the dogs with my wife's dog, and that is also another step that we're slowly taking because the dogs aren't familiar with each other. They're older, they need to be slowly integrated, and that's a process that is going to take time, and we plan on filming that and things, but it's not going to be a video that you're going to get right away. We're not going to throw the dogs, you know, into a room just to get views or clicks or whatever. We care about our dogs, we love our animals, so we're going to be patient, and we're going to integrate and assimilate everybody in a slow, patient way. And I think that that's best. It's healthy for us in our minds, and it's healthy for the dogs because they'll get to know each other. We're going to take them on walks before we let them interact and live in the same room, let alone the same house. Overall, the experience of taking my dogs overseas was incredibly stressful. Just worrying about them on the plane, worrying about them when they weren't with me. I assume that if you're watching this video, you're going to plan much better than I did, and you'll probably be traveling overseas or to the country or state at the same time your dog will. But that wasn't the case for me, and I wasn't able to do that, so it added an extra layer of stress. The financial stress is insane. The amount of money we had to pay for a pet transportation company was staggering, and it made me even more stressed. You know, when you have dogs that you love, that you consider your own children, you'll do anything for them, you'll pay any amount, and that's exactly what we did. As for now, the dogs love Sweden. They really enjoy it here. It's a much colder climate. If you're not familiar with the channel, I lived in Florida, so it was very warm, like for a majority of the year, and Siberian Huskies, they thrive in cold temperatures. So I really can't wait for the Huskies to see the snow in Sweden, because it gets really snowy here, and neither of my dogs have ever seen real like thick snow. So that's going to be something new that they're going to get to experience, and I'm excited to share that with the audience and experience it for myself. So far, everything is going great. It's just a slow process. And if you're planning on sending your dogs overseas, take all of this into consideration. You're going to really want to make sure that you're close with your vet and working with them. And if you do choose to use a pet transportation company, which I do recommend at this point, because it's just heartbreaking to fail or be denied boarding with your dog when you try very hard. It's so, I don't know, it takes away your motivation, and it makes you feel helpless. I would say that if you're gonna transport your dog overseas, definitely use a pet transportation company. It's expensive, but like I had 2 dogs, so it was double the cost. If I had only one Siberian Husky, it would probably have only cost maybe $7,000 or $8,000, which is still absolutely insane, but it's not over 10 grand, and it may be something that you can swallow, possibly. When the dogs arrived to Sweden, they were obviously stressed out. I noticed Britney Spears' voice, like when he barked and howled, was kind of hoarse, it's like he had been doing it for days, but it didn't take very long for it to come back. He's very vocal now again, and everybody's back to normal. So yeah, just keep in mind, it typically takes about 2 weeks for dogs to assimilate and get used to a schedule, and that's what we're working on right now. But more than anything, I'm incredibly happy to be home. I'm happy that the dogs are in Sweden with me, and everyone's getting along, everybody's thriving, and that makes me the happiest person in the world. I dreamed about the day when the Huskies would get to Sweden, and I apologize that it took so long, because I know my audience has been waiting a really, really long time to see my Huskies move over to Sweden. They're like, where's 60 Formula? Why aren't the dogs in Sweden yet? What's going on? It took me 2 years to be accepted to live in Sweden, and during those 2 years, the dogs couldn't go. I wasn't going to send them to a country where I wasn't even accepted. So once I was approved to move here, and by the way, I just moved here a couple months ago, the first thing I did and made sure to do was to bring the Huskies. And now that we're all together, everyone's happy, it feels great, and I'm happy to make more videos now and expand on the channel. But for those 2 years, it was really hard to record anything or bring you any content, because we were almost stuck in limbo. It was kind of like I was going to Sweden all the time. The dogs were stuck in America all the time. I got to only spend a few months at a time with them and a few months at a time with my wife, and it was just very hard to focus on anything. But now that everybody's together and we're all in one place, I can focus on work and YouTube and bringing you guys great training videos, funny shorts, and all that, because that's my passion. It's what I love to do, and hopefully you guys love watching it. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments down below, because I'm sure you're gonna have tons. There's a lot of things to ask when it comes to transporting dogs back and forth. We went through so much, and if there's something you need to know, like maybe you're thinking of doing this, write it down below. I'll be sure to answer those questions and make sure you have all the information that you need, because honestly, it's kind of hard to find the information that you're looking for when it comes to transporting your babies. But I do really appreciate you guys hanging out with us and sticking with us, and look forward to more really cool, awesome Siberian Husky videos, especially training videos and fun shorts that I promise you'll be seeing on a daily basis. Thank you again for watching this video. I had a blast. It was good talking with you guys, and it's good to have the Huskies here. We'll see you next time with another episode of whatever we make. Peace!